is TechStrong TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to TechStrong TV. I'm Bonnie Schneider. Today, we're talking about a new tool that not only measures, but also offers solutions to reduce the carbon footprint of something we all use every day, websites. With us today is Scott Jehl, Senior Experience Engineer at Catchpoint, to talk to us about carbon control, a new feature in Catchpoint's web page test solution that's aiding organizations in complying with European climate law and also leading us towards a more sustainable digital future. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Bonnie.
Oh, it's great to have you here. We know that you're known as an advocate for fast, resilient web experiences, but I'd like to learn more about your background and how you got involved with Catchpoint and their carbon control feature.
Sure. So I am a web designer and developer. I've been doing this for decades, working with companies large and small, as well as products that I've worked on the team itself. I have a particular interest in web performance and accessibility. So I've sort of aimed to improve awareness of those concerns through open source work, writing books, and presenting at conferences around the world. How that ties into my work at Catchpoint, I joined a couple of years ago at this point, or around that. That was because they own a tool that I've been using for probably a decade, called Web Page Test. And they were building a team around, maintaining and improving how that tool works. It was sort of a perfect fit for me to be able to influence the direction of the future of that product.
And can you explain how carbon control works and how it measures a website's carbon footprint, and especially regarding the metrics and data and how that's taken into consideration?
Yeah. So I guess it might help to first give some context around the environment that carbon control runs within, which is Web Page Test. And that's one of the tools in Catchpoint's platform of various internet performance monitoring tools. So Web Page Test specifically focuses mostly on the front end experience, or that is to say, how a site performs from the end user's perspective when they open it on their browser or their device. And carbon control is one aspect of that. So Web Page Test monitors many aspects from a performance or accessibility perspective, such as how quickly a site appears to visually load as you from the time that you type in a URL and click go to actually seeing visual progress, and then helps you understand why there are delays in particular moments of that journey, so to speak, when you're trying to load a web page, because often, increasingly, it can take a long time, even though performance should be improving in the last several decades as the technology of the internet improves. We're sort of always fighting against this current of increasing the file size of the sites that we deliver to a point that it sometimes negates the improvements that we would otherwise see. So Web Page Test helps you understand and improve on those aspects. And one of those is recently carbon footprint measuring. So it gives you an estimated carbon footprint for a website, which generally takes a couple of factors into account. The transfer size of the files that are required to run the website. So how much megabytes or kilobytes you download when you're accessing the website, and then whether or not those files are hosted in a green manner or not. So generally, the idea is that all websites are hosted on servers and viewed on power-hungry devices, generating and storing and transferring and downloading all those files, all have potential carbon footprint qualities to them. So we try to give an estimate of that. Knowing that files are green hosted really helps. Knowing that it's running on renewable energy, of course, means that aspect of the website's delivery has no footprint, which is great. But it doesn't mean the whole cycle of downloading it and running it on a device has no footprint as well. So the tools that we use attempt to estimate the cost, even if green hosting is involved.
Okay, well, that's it sounds like it's a valuable tool, and of course it's something that's needed with new regulations and laws that are coming into play. Can you talk a little bit about the European climate rules that are affecting keeping track of emissions and how carbon control can help organizations comply with them?
Yeah, so I think, just in general, climate change being such a central concern to our world these days, digital emissions are increasingly important both to people and to companies that are potentially creating them. And I think, as you mentioned, increasingly companies are being asked to track their digital emissions with regulations that are coming into play, particularly in Europe, as you mentioned. So there's a big interest from these companies, and we've been hearing from them in the last couple of years a lot about this, that they'd like better tools to be able to understand their digital footprint and be able to give a better estimate of it. And I think carbon control is designed to be one aspect of that. Digital services are one aspect, delivering files over the web to a carbon footprint. But other aspects are really important too, like, for example, the devices that a company uses and how frequently they cycle them through, and if that the lifespan of the device was actually worthwhile compared to the energy it took to create the device, right? So there are all sorts of considerations, and we're trying to look at least to start, just one of those, which is something that's pretty readily available for any site that you test through web page test.
And is carbon control available globally?
It is, yeah. Anywhere that Catchpoint and webpagetest.org can be accessed, you can check the box on the homepage of Web Page Test Run and include this new metric to be able to track the carbon footprint and get a decent idea of how you're doing in the context of other sites on the web, say like the top 1,000 sites, and how you compare to that, and a little context of what does this grams number mean to me in relation to, say, driving a car a mile or something like that. So we try to provide a little information around that.
That's definitely good analogies for people to kind of get a grasp of their digital emissions. But I'm wondering about the actionable insights that when someone says, oh, wow, we are having more emissions than we'd like. I mean, where does carbon control come into that area to help people to make changes?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked, because that's, to me, the most exciting aspect of it. Knowing is important and just spreading awareness that digital services have a footprint. But being able to act on it is the hard part, and the part that I think is really unique about this particular tool. So just more broadly, Web Page Test has a feature called Experiments, and that allows you to run performance optimizations on a live website and actually test in a sort of synthetic environment whether or not something actually improves performance or whatever problem you're trying to address in real time on a real website. Of course, with not actually, monitoring without modifying the actual website. So it's in a simulated environment, but it uses the live website to test it. So in that same way that you could see if loading a script file a different way might make the site appear quicker on a device, you can also try experiments that potentially reduce your carbon footprint. Some of those might be to change some of your host providers from companies that are not using renewable energy to a place that simulates a renewable green hosting environment. So you could see, oh, wow, that makes a pretty big impact on its own. And of course, the larger impact that you'll see from experiments are anything that reduce your file size. So if you can get that download weight, reduced, then you're going to see a big reduction in your footprint.
Well, that's definitely helpful. Our viewers are a lot of people like you that work in IT and DevOps, and they may be interested in knowing how carbon control can be part of their daily workflow, not just on occasion to check on emissions, but how is something like this integrated all the time?
Yeah, good question. So at the moment, web page test offers two ways to run it. You can run a test instantly, like any number of runs, right away, or you can set up web page tests to run synthetically in a monitoring sort of scenario. So both of those scenarios are supported through Catchpoint's products already today. The carbon footprint or carbon control feature is so far just piloting on webpagetest.org. So you can use it in an instant test scenario. And soon we plan to build it into the monitoring product as well. So you'll be able to track your footprint, on a day-to-day basis like you would any other metric.
That's definitely helpful. So tell me about the response so far to carbon control from users and anyone else in the tech industry that you're in contact with.
Yeah, I think it's been exciting. I mean, the web community, I love working in this community because it's sort of open by default. People share their knowledge. That's just sort of the way we work. And we're, always chatting on Twitter and whatever is, replacing Twitter these days. And these conversations are, increasingly about, climate change and what our impact on climate change is as people who produce and deliver websites and, streaming services and things like that are, can be quite costly. So I think, generally the reception has been, excited so far and, figuring out, oh, wow, like this is a great start. I wonder, I wonder what other aspects we can start to look at next and get, deeper analysis of an overall company's footprint.
Yeah, and that brings us to our final question. Looking into the future, where do you see the next steps for sustainability in the tech industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of the world is not green hosted. That's to me an obvious step. And I think, you can look to resources like Jerry McGovern's work on the worldwide waste, a great book that talks about digital waste from an aspect of, device life cycles. We have to improve battery life and, find ways to use the devices we have longer so that we're not, expending as much energy creating all of them go into this World Wide Web. So, I think increasingly it's going to be a combination of those things. Like how can we deliver more responsibly, lower file sizes and things like that to different devices, while looking at broader aspects of digital emissions and getting those into control as well.
That's great. Well, Scott Jehl, Senior Experience Engineer at Catchpoint, thank you so much for joining us on TechStrong TV.
Thanks so much, Bonnie.
Just in time. All right. Thanks, Scott. We're going to have a lot more coming up on TechStrong TV right after this.